Hello, everybody. Deborah Prinzing here with the Slow Flowers podcast. I'm back today with a very special set of guests, and they are featured in our new book, The Flower Farmers. And I'm so delighted to show you who they are. It's the Carrier family, Leon and Carol, mom and dad, and Lee Jr., next generation farmer. And they're going to join me right now. And I'm just delighted that they could all squeeze onto the screen and say hello. Good day, everyone. How are y'all doing?
Good.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Oh, my pleasure. I love it. Well, this is kind of reminiscent of the times when we did the interviews for the book. All three of you got on Zoom with me, and that was really fun. And it's fun to see the dynamics. So congratulations for a beautiful chapter. Seriously, Beth Caldwell did such a great job on the photos. Carol, what do you have? You want to share what you created from the chapter?
Well, we loved all our photographers' photos so well that we made our own book of the flower farmers. But this one only features us, not the other 29 farmers across the country.
Yeah, I love that photo of Lee's family with all of his beautiful children, and I'm glad that you put that on the cover because they're your next generation, Lee.
That's right. Yeah.
Is that going to happen?
Well, nothing's ever promised, so we'll have to see where the future takes us there. But we definitely have some interest.
Yeah, but they're probably as interested in farming as you were when you were that age.
Yeah.
Which is probably not a lot.
Lee did not join the business right out of school. He went and worked for.
He had a whole different career, right?
Yeah. Before he came back to the farm. So
wow.
I'd say it's early days to be making bets on the kids yet.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. We're living in the moment. I want to start with a question that I never asked. But Leon, how did the name Plant Masters come about? How did you come up with that name for your business? And was it the first name you always had, or had it evolved?
No, I started at a farmer's market when I was in college, doing it on the weekends. And back then it was called Cactus Corner because I grew a lot of succulents. And as it evolved, I kind of asked everybody I knew what would be a good name. And we just kind of came up with Plant Masters.
Mm-hmm. Because cactus was kind of locking you into one niche, and you wanted to have a broader umbrella.
I'll tell you my version.
Yeah, tell me.
By the time we were married and had my son, we had to become a little more official and actually have a business name for bank accounts and that kind of stuff. And at the time, there was this cartoon called Masters of the Universe, I think it was. It was He-Man. And so I think he kind of got it for that. He was going to be master of the plant world. So he came up with Plant Masters.
A plant superhero. That sounds about right, Lee.
He's my superhero.
I love it. Well, I gave a lecture yesterday to a local garden club, and I was talking about, people asked, how did you identify 29 flower farmers across the country, or actually across North America, to be in this book? And I said, well, we were trying to go for geographic diversity and also, different types of flower farmers. And I mentioned you as this legacy farm where your Plant Masters is 30 years old, and now and maybe a lot older, and you're handing it off to Lee. And Lee, you've been running the business now. That transition's been going on for 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Time. Okay, so how? What are the highs and lows over is it 40 years? I didn't want to I can't remember when you started.
Plant Masters started in 1978.
Okay. Wow. So 45 years-ish. Do the math. Yeah. So how did you, I guess I would like to know, what do you attribute your staying power to? And I think, I've never visited your farm. I've only seen it in photos. I hope to visit it sometime soon. But it seems like you unlike a lot of other cut flower farmers, you're diversified and you also try to be year round. I feel like those are your secret weapons, or superpowers. Is that one of the reasons you're just still coming back year after year, month after month?
We have family bills to pay.
Well, yeah, I mean, for sure, you're showing that you can support. You raised three children from Plant Masters, and now you have a son and his family with 5 children, and the business is supporting you. So I think that's pretty remarkable.
As we try to be consistent, and I say try because sometimes the weather doesn't cooperate. It won't get above freezing and we can't go to market, or somebody's sick, or we have some family issue, or, life is tough.
Yeah.
But we do try really hard to have flowers available for our customers. And I think they appreciate that. They, let us know what they want and know that we will try to make that happen. Sometimes I can't, but we try to make that happen.
But with year-round farmers markets, there's a year-round customer base to the public, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you say, Leon? I'm putting words into your mouth, or do you think that there's diversity?
It is diversity. If we didn't do all the plants in addition to the cuts, there would be gaps in our income. So, we've always done both. And it just works out. If we don't have a whole lot of flowers that week, well, we have a lot of blooming plants.
Bedding plants and potted plants.
Yeah.
For indoors or outdoors.
Yeah, and we grow amaryllis and, paperwhites. Not a lot of cut flowers in December, besides our ilex.
Which is, ilex is your special crop that we featured in the book, which I love. And again, that's not something someone can just read about and say, oh, hey, I'm going to jump in on this trend that Plant Masters has done. This beautiful, this isn't going to show very well, but you can hold it up, Carol, if you have it in your book, the winterberry, because you have to plant that and then play the long game.
Well, I bought these plants when Lee was about 13 years old. And
we won't say how old he is now, right?
Lee, what?
I'm 42.
Okay. So almost 30 years ago. There we go. Yeah. So beautiful. Wow.
And he planted them all.
Yes. We talk about that in the book. How much did you pay Lee to plant all those, were they just like, just bare root, or?
He might have planted them to get out of trouble.
Good job, Dad. I love it. Okay, so now how many plants do you have producing that ilex?
We probably have over 200.
Gosh, and you can move all that product in through the kind of orange ones in the harvest season, and then the red ones in the sort of Christmas holiday season.
Yeah.
Wow, it's amazing.
Pretty much harvest starts at the end of September and goes until about mid-December.
Yeah. But it's not like, I guess what I was getting at is it's not like somebody can just jump on that bandwagon and try to get a crop producing. It takes several years to get that.
I'd say at least 3.
Okay. But I do like what I'm hearing about the balance between plants and cuts. And the video that you've shot that we're going to show at the end of this interview really illustrates that. And I forgot about the cactus corner being your name. And when we see the video, the very first thing that Lee introduces us to in the greenhouse are all the cactus. And you grow all the sexy varieties that people want. And that's fabulous.
People collect them.
And also there's sort of this, I noticed this when when I do workshops, like at the Northwest Flower and Garden Festival, when we do plant-based workshops on the floral stage, they sell out first, like the terrarium workshop or the, succulent bowl workshop, because even though people love arranging with flowers, there's this perceived value of a planted product that people will have it for longer. Do you encounter that with customers?
Yeah, but also the succulents can be used in a cut flower bouquet. They can be manipulated that way.
Yeah, you do that in floral design when you're designing bouquets. They're like with a wire stem or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And Deborah, I wanted to mention earlier about the ilex is that we are also members of a flower co-op, Chesapeake Flower Exchange, and a lot of that ilex also goes out to floral designers in the Baltimore, Washington area.
Yeah, I wanted to lead up to that. So that is pretty recent,
Yes.
Right, Carol? Like when did
we're on our 3rd year, I believe it is.
Yeah, congratulations. That's great. And that's reaching a completely new customer base, right?
Well, yes and no. I mean, honestly, a lot of them were designers that we worked with already, but we never had time to do deliveries. And so if they couldn't pick it up at the farm markets, it was difficult for them.
Mm-hmm.
So now by joining together with some other farmers, one, they have a larger offering of stems, and I have somebody that will deliver the product.
Yeah, that's
So
fair.
that's huge.
You're selling throughout the year at Chesapeake Flower Exchange?
Yes,
They're not
we stayed open all year. It's if you put your mind to it, there is floral material all season long. It might not be flowers, but there are things to use, and your customers still have occasions to celebrate and want floral designs. So we're here to celebrate that. And I also think some of these co-ops are the future of some of the floral industry because there's so many flower growers. But as individuals, you can only do so much. You just get worn out.
Yeah.
So by joining together, it makes it a little bit easier for both parties, for the people buying and for us selling. And I think that smaller co-ops will eventually come together. That's my vision.
Yeah, I agree. You helped form the Chesapeake group, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay. And where is that? What city is it in?
Well, if we're central Maryland, our hub is at Savage, Maryland.
Okay.
Which is just outside of Washington, just between Baltimore and Washington. So it's a perfect location.
Okay.
To service both cities.
So that's your wholesale channel.
Yeah.
And your primary wholesale channel. And then on the retail side, direct to consumer, Lee, are you pretty much on the front lines with the farmers markets?
I do a farmers market every week. I'm not able to staff all of them, so we do have help.
How many farmers markets are you bringing product to?
7 a week.
Counting right now. Yeah.
7 a week.
That is unheard of. We'll talk about Carol's reference to somewhat of, burnout. How do you juggle 7 farmers markets? Obviously, you can only go to one, Lee. And do you go to Carol or Leon? Do you go to any, or do you have staff take product out?
I retired from farmers markets 2 years ago, and I do sub maybe once or twice a year when they absolutely need it. But Carol does 3 a week, and
wow,
love to see her cut back.
But people know you and they want to chat with you, Carol, I'm sure.
We have really nice customers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're like family in a lot of ways. I'm their therapist in a lot of ways.
And they ask where you are if you're not there.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. Which one do you go to, Lee?
I go to the one in Kensington, Maryland.
Okay. And is it year round or is it seasonal, or how do you?
It is year round. Sometimes there's weeks where, if the temps don't get above freezing, we're obviously not able to bring any, live plant material or cuts out in weather like that. But yeah, we try to be there consistently every week.
That is crazy that it's just temperate enough in Maryland where you can pretty much sell outdoors year round, or are these indoor markets?
Yeah. The one I do is indoors, and that's the Farm Women's Market that's been in operation over 90 years.
Wow.
So that's that's a whole nother story in itself, just that market has been in operation that long. But we have some employees and some partnerships so that we can do these markets. And last winter was very cold, but most winters are just, as long as they're above freezing, we can usually handle it pretty well.
Well, I have so many questions about crop mix and about the transition to Lee's taking over the business. First of all, I want to talk about crop mix because you were talking about you always have something to bring to market, Leon, and that you always have, if you don't have cuts, you have plants. And that all happened because didn't you graduate from college in horticulture?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
University of Maryland.
Yeah. So tell the story that we tell in the book about deciding that flowers might be sexier to sell than some, a cactus, even though we know cactus are sexy.
Well, I'd go to these markets and, people might not buy a succulent or a cactus every week because they last. But I'd be sitting there and it'd be either, lilac season or peony season. And I'd see these farmers come in and their whole stand would be lilac or peonies, probably from their grandmother at their farm. Mm-hmm. And they just went like hotcakes. I mean, it was like a feeding frenzy. And basically that is when I decided that I wanted to do that.
And you were just a young guy. You were still in school, right?
Yes.
And it's good that you had that kind of illustration of consumers' response to cut flowers. Because at the time, back in the late 80s, it wasn't like there was a big local flower movement or sentiment of buying local. It was just this visceral response to a beautiful nostalgia of grandmother's lilacs, I would think.
Yeah. No, back in the late 70s, South American product killed the local flower industry. But, I just saw an opportunity, especially at that farmer's market, that, people wanted that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost an immediate reaction. So on the crop mix now, is it about half and half, about half plants and half cuts?
No, I'd say it's about 80% cuts.
Okay. It's just that in the video, we saw a lot of plants because it's so early in the season. And Lee, you were showing us the peony fields. You're already harvesting peonies. So those are all outdoor crops, right?
Yep. Well, that's what I'll be doing this afternoon, more than likely.
What's the temperature today?
It's about 75 here.
Oh, so you're harvesting once, even maybe twice a day with the
3 times sometime. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, thanks for taking the time to chat. And then the indoor crops are in your 2 high tunnels, which I could not believe you said, or maybe Leon said on the video, you found on a Craigslist or a Facebook marketplace.
Yeah. That's where we found all of our tunnels used.
Brilliant.
Just other than having to go and take them down and transport them, you get a really good deal.
And you have to be kind of MacGyvers because you probably had to rebuild them and repair them a little bit, right?
Yeah. It's easier to take them apart than it is to put them back together again. That's for sure.
Said every dad of a kid who had a wagon that you had to assemble on Christmas Eve. But what made you even you're just like thinking we need high tunnels, let's find them, and you just didn't want to pay full price and get a new one?
Well, they are expensive and a considerable investment. New. Yeah. My interest in high tunnels came really before I was even working with Plant Masters. I had my own plot of land that I was just interested in growing, food crops and vegetables for my family, and maybe a little to take to my parents' farmers markets. And I found a hoop house that was for sale near me, and I kind of bounced it off my dad, and I think that's what caught the bug because he ended up splitting that one with me. He didn't let me buy the whole thing. He wanted half of it.
He wanted the real estate.
that's how he got his first hoop house. But we definitely saw the benefits of growing in tunnels. They come with their own set of problems, but the quality of the product that you get out of them, in my opinion, surpasses what you can grow in the field.
And you can control the environment then, right?
Yeah, it's a controlled environment. Plus, you have the season extension that kind of takes some of the ups and downs out of the weather for you a little bit.
Yeah.
You're able to grow really, really nice quality flowers under those tunnels.
Well, tell me about the transition to this, like basically Plant Masters 2.0. That's where you're at right now with the second farm
Right.
that is at where you are living and raising your family, but also farming, right, Lee?
Yeah. So we, a few years after I'd come back and started working with the business, my parents were, well, they're still working, but they are thinking about retiring and slowing down things a little bit. But I had my own set of expenses and family, so that we definitely need to expand our operations to be able to accommodate all that.
Yeah.
So we did find a beautiful property. I'm only about 10 minutes away from my parents, the original Plant Master farm.
So original farm is it Laytonsville?
Yeah, Laytonsville, Maryland.
Okay.
And
where are you?
I'm right outside of Woodbine, Maryland.
Okay.
Only 10 minutes down the road.
Was it hard to find how many acres do you have?
5 acres.
Okay,
5 acres.
so that's not bad. You weren't buying like an estate or something.
No, but it did take some looking around. I mean, we looked at several properties before we found the right one.
Mm-hmm. And then what Leon joked about when we had an earlier conversation is that I don't believe this, but you said you were able to correct all the mistakes you made on the first farm on the second
Not
farm.
all the mistakes.
Not all of it.
Well, give me some for instances. Like Leon, what was your pain point on your farm that you wanted to try to retrofit for Lee's farm?
Well, I wanted access to everything.
Okay.
With a vehicle. So we have roads at Lee's farm. And I just
Do you mean like for bringing trucks in or something like that? Or
yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Just so we could, one of the things at my parents' farm is that over the years, as their, different beds increased and their plants matured, so some pathways through the property got pretty tight. And you had trouble, when you needed to get a pickup truck back or your tractor. Some of the places had become kind of inaccessible to machinery and things like that. So
it's a problem.
one thing we did focus on was make sure that we spaced things in a way that we can move these box trucks around the property. My tractor can access all the houses, all the areas of the garden, and still have room to turn around, which is important.
Yeah. So just like build-in efficiencies.
Well, and here's another one. We put up a big barn at Lee's farm. And at the back of that is a big cooler.
Oh, wonderful.
Our cooler was too small for one thing. Got, some space, but we're able to pull the trucks into the barn. So when we load things, we're out of the rain. I mean, it's disheartening to be soaked in the rain before you even go to market.
That's such a practical design decision.
It's so practical, but and we also had space to have the party in the barn too.
Oh, and that's where the book party was.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
all right, good.
The kids can play basketball or ride their bikes, but it's wonderful to have that indoor workspace.
Yeah, I love it. And do you guys do mixed bouquets? Are you doing flower production there or just processing?
Mostly processing, but we do make bouquets as time allows. I make a little mason jar bouquets often. It depends on what time is available.
Yeah. So brilliant to be able to just say part of success is to make the farmers' lives more comfortable
That's very true, Deborah.
Yeah.
I think that's something we probably don't focus on enough.
Yeah.
That you can get more done when it's easier to get more done.
Yeah. And in the going in and out of a cooler is hard enough, but if you're dry, it's a more happy
Oh
experience.
yeah. And I hear about people that have, they keep stuff in their basement, which means they'd have to walk through that. That's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you had a big kickoff the weekend before Mother's Day to celebrate the Flower Farmers book. I'm so sorry that I couldn't be there. Tell us a little bit how the party went. I didn't know it was at Lee's Farm, but that makes sense because that's Party Central now, right?
Well, yeah, we had a good turnout. It was really neat to see everyone show up and show their appreciation, and everyone was just taken aback by how nice the book was.
Did you sign your page? Did you sign the book?
I signed a few, yeah.
Okay, good. Oh, I love it. That's great. How about you?
Had a great time, and the barn is a great place to throw a party. So.
Oh, that's great. How about you, Carol? You had well, maybe Beth just surprised you with the photos that she blew up.
Well, she did. That was a surprise for the photos that she blew up. And it was interesting at the end of the evening how my children were sort of negotiating among themselves which ones they wanted to take for themselves. I only ended up with 2 of them, and I think there were about 10. So that was kind of a nice testimony too.
Almost like it was almost like an art show for her.
Yeah.
To have that.
So
I love it.
I had a pile of books that at the ready, and people loved them. And we went for a very simple and enjoyable time. We all had a potluck supper together, and it wasn't great weather, but it didn't seem to matter. We were all just sort of celebrating that the book got published, which I will hand to you. That is a feat in itself. So congratulations to you and Robin.
Thank you. I know Robin will be thrilled to know that we chatted. We kind of can't believe it either because we were pretty burned out by the time it was published. And it's sort of like having children. You're like, oh, I'll never have another one. And then I say that about
so nice.
And then I'm like, oh, I forgot all the pain and agony. And I'm ready now to do another one. No, it was great. And I have to say, I was, Leon was talking about customers and the people who you have shopped from you for years. When I first met you, it was through Kelly Shore, who
we made sure we had a date. She was going to be in town. Yeah,
she was there, and Kelly came to me in 2016 and said, I have these flower farmers that I buy from at the local farmers market, and they let me do these photo shoots at their farm. This is at the parent Leon and Carol's farm, I think, right, Lee? Yeah, and that she did the 4 seasons, beautiful photo shoots, kind of to teach herself what was available in all 4 seasons from a florist point of view. Was she one of the first florists you started selling to, or had you been selling to folks? Like that was about 8 years ago now.
No, we'd been selling to florists for really practically since the beginning. But Kelly, we have a special relationship with. She lives very close by, and she seems to like our product and can use it in a very imaginative way. So when we did that photo shoot, and we were doing the winter flowers, there's not a lot of winter flowers in Maryland, but she took some dried hydrangeas, some potted amaryllis stems, and went to town and just made beautiful work.
I know.
With, it's the silk purse from a sow's ear kind of thing. She just has a vision of using what's in season, and people respond to that.
I agree. In fact, we published that whole series in Florist Review, and that's when I first met you. As we did a little, well, maybe I had met Lee at the Field of Base Dinner before that, but anyway, we did a little sidebar story about Plant Masters to go with that series, and I think the succulents were in that winter series too, right? The
Yes.
winter, yeah. So it was great. And it's funny. I hear from so many people who say, "Well, I really want to support local flower farming as designers," and they're like, "But I can't get anything in the winter, and I have to buy imported roses, or And I want to say you're not putting in the work to develop those relationships with farmers, because it's not impossible.
No, it's really not. And there's going to be more and more product available in the winter as the industry develops and has more heated houses, and the hoop houses extend our season. And as people sort of open their imagination to the idea that it doesn't have to be roses.
It can be other things.
I like
know.
roses, but there's lots of pretty flowers.
Are you guys growing roses?
No.
Yeah. Okay. How about hellebores?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's another alternative for Valentine's Day, right?
Well, and we grew, you tell them how many tulips?
12,000 tulips.
Indoors or outdoors? In crates
Indoor.
or in the
Indoors. We kept them in the cooler until they got their cold treatment, and then moved them to the heated hoop house.
And you had them, what were the kind of windows of time that you had them? Like January, February?
No, when was it, Lee?
February to end of maybe mid-April.
Were you shooting for Valentine's Day, Lee?
We did have some set for Valentine's Day. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Brilliant. Yeah. I mean, that's exciting to hear about. I love it. Well, I'm excited that we're going to get this book out into the world, and I hope people will take time to, who are listening to this, take time to watch the video of this interview, and also the bonus, almost 7-minute video that the Carriers have filmed, all on the new farm. What do you call the new farm, Lee? Is it called
Endless Rose?
Okay.
Name the farm. Endless
Rose Farm, Plant Masters / Endless Rose, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And why? In a way, it's sort of funny. Is like it could be positive, but it could also be an admission of how you feel at the end of weeding or harvesting.
That's a lot of flower farming. You have some ambivalent feelings sometimes.
I know. Well, I always ask people, are you able to listen to a book on tape or a podcast while you're weeding or harvesting? Do you do any of that, Lee?
Oh yeah, absolutely. All the time.
What are you listening to now?
I listen to a variety of things. Sometimes it's chicken podcasts. Sometimes it's plants. Sometimes it's sailing. I try to have a lot of interest, and whatever catches my eye when I'm scrolling through is what I listen to a lot.
Yeah, the chickens is something that really surprised me, and I don't want to give it all away, but the video reveals the other side of Lee Jr. and I love it so much. How about you, Leon and Carol? Are you able to distract yourself from the chore of seeding? And I mean, I know Leon is still the guy who starts all the seedlings, right?
Yeah, I do the seeding and the cuttings. We did like 25,000 dahlia cuttings over the winter.
Wow. So how do you pass the time while you're doing that?
I have a little lab in my basement with lights, and I basically watch TV.
That's his happy place. I think those lights really help with the seasonal, effectiveness.
You send him down to his man cave and he takes cuttings for hours.
He's very good at that. And I will say that would be another skill I would definitely suggest future flower farmers develop, is just being able to propagate and start seeds. Yeah.
And Lee mentioned that in the video too. I mean, tulips are basically an annual for flower farmers.
Yes.
Dahlias are a different story. And so if you're starting dahlias from cuttings, then you're not even having to buy tubers.
Right. And I've maintained over 50 varieties of dahlias for the last 15 years.
Mm-hmm. And they're all over at least at Endless Rose right now.
Well, they're in my driveway right now, hoping that he takes them.
And then you're going to transplant them really soon.
We're planting dahlias right now.
Yeah. And you're taking the cuttings that are rooted, and then are you bumping them up before you plant them in the field?
No, we
No.
put them in 72 plug trays, and they're good in there for a month or two.
Okay. And then they can go right into the field.
Yes.
Okay. When you on the video, when you were looking at the field, that was, as Carol said, look at the potential. I loved your comment about that. Leon, you said something about starting in the back and working your way forward. What were you talking about? Was that for color?
No, last year we started at the bottom and worked our way up.
Mm.
And it's just kind of a way to rotate our crops a little bit. But also, that higher area does not get a frost as early as the lower area. So we figured since dahlias are kind of a late season crop, that would help us.
Planting the first wave at higher elevation
Yes.
would protect them. Got it. You know what? Looking at that video, I couldn't tell that there was maybe a gradual incline on that field. So it sounds like there is. Good. Well, before we wrap up, what have I not asked you that you want to share?
The reason why he has to plant so much right now is we like to get as much possible planted for our annuals in, because then we take a vacation.
Yeah.
And
that's special.
I realize that's not always possible for everyone, but we have intentionally made a break to go and rest a little bit.
And you usually do that when is that, Carol? In the middle of summer?
Around the end of after school gets out.
Okay.
End of June, first week in July, something like that.
So we try to see if the whole family can come. So far, it's worked most years. And we will have a house full of, 14 people and play at the beach.
And then the farmers market.
Come back and work our hearts out.
But your crew can take over for farmers markets and keep things watered and all while you're gone.
Right.
That's really a great accomplishment, and also a focus on the sustainability of the farmer and the wellness of.
So when you ask how we've done it so long, part of it has been, showing up at markets and having the plants and the diversity, and some of it is taking care of the farmers.
I love it. I love it. I think that's a great goal for people. If you don't plan it and schedule it into your calendar of crops, then it won't happen.
Oh yeah, and it's really hard. It's not like an easy thing. Let's go on vacation. We work really hard to get to that point.
And the week before we leave, it's like freak out mode every year.
Long nights, planting with a headlamp, that sort of thing.
I draw the line at that one.
Wow, that's great. Well, listen, I'm so thrilled that you said yes when I asked you if I could interview you, and that we coordinated beautiful photography with Beth, and that we can tell the story of the 2-generation family farm soon, and maybe in the next decade, there'll be a 3rd generation. I know you're young, Lee, so I'm not saying you're ready to retire, but it's really a beautiful thing to watch, and a privilege to be just a little bit part of telling your story. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. We're excited for the future.
We are excited for the future. I love that. Okay, we'll see you soon. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey guys, Leon Carrier with Plant Masters. Welcome to Endless Rose Farm. This is one of the first hoop houses that we put up once we moved into the farm, and we've gotten a heater in it this year, so we're able to grow year round. Lots of bedding annuals, cactus, succulents, vegetables, and herbs. Last winter we were able to grow, several thousand tulips and the same amount of ranunculus and anemones in this heated house for early spring crop. So it's really helped extend our seasons a lot. Plant Masters as a business not only sells cut flowers, but we also sell tons of bedding annuals and beautiful flowers for your own garden. Calibrachoa, mini petunias, or million bells, and they're very popular this time of year. They will bloom their heads off all summer. One of my favorite plants are succulents and cactus, so we make sure to include that in everything that we're doing. These are some nice little jade starts that we'll pot up and offer to our customers.
Lovely.
Fleshy.
Yes.
And these are pencil cactus. This is a variety called fire tip. So this little peanut cactus, it's coming into bloom this time of year. When they bloom, they're beautiful. That's some ranunculus. They're a nice spring blooming flower. Wrapping up the season with these, but we grew a few thousand in cuts this year, so that was a great addition to our program. One of the big ones that we do is Sweet William. Real great, long-lasting cut flower. Great spring addition. These are English daisies or bellas, and that's a perennial flower we don't use for cuts but sell for our farmers markets. So we also have a bunch of stock and snapdragons that are growing in this house, and they'll be coming along in the next few weeks, but they're also another great spring crop for us. So these are forget-me-nots. They're a nice little perennial flower that'll spread in your shade gardens, and they'll spread out all over the place.
More English daisies?
Yep. So these are all hardy hens and chicks. Like I said, succulents are one of my favorites, so we definitely propagate a lot. They're a real easy crop to grow, and they're great for wedding favors, party favors, or just for your own succulent collection. That's a Sweet William.
More Sweet William?
Yep, more Sweet William. This is my peony field. You can see they're all coming into bud right now. We have a few thousand plants, and we'll get several thousand stems off these every year. I have varieties like Victory on the Marne, Festiva Maxima, Sarah Bernhardt, Shirley Temple, and a few more. Coral Charm, Coral Sunset. One of our great big crops this time of year, and I'll be out here shortly cutting them 3 times a day. So you can see that we want them at soft marshmallow stage. Some of these Coral Charms are getting ready, and I've been cutting this variety the last few days. But well, when you come to the farm, you might see some chickens hanging around here. I'm a breeder of American game fowl chickens. They're kind of a rare and disappearing breed of chicken. They come in some of the most beautiful colors that you can imagine. And I've been stewarding the breed for several years now, and I'm associated with several different game fowl breeder clubs. My farm, chicken-wise, is called South Mountain Game Fowl. I got my start with chickens living out in Washington County at the foot of South Mountain, so that's what I decided to name them.
Hey, I'm Leon Carrier, and I have a company called Plant Masters that I have been working at for over 40 years. And my son is now taking over, and right now we're at his farm. In the background you can see these hoop houses. They're 30 feet wide and I think 100 feet long, and they're kind of twins because they're exactly alike. We got those, my son found them on Facebook Marketplace.
This is why I'm having Lee do this. We're supporting local.
Ooh, we ate them tonight.
All right, so here's our main field production garden. We lay plastic down, and the majority of this garden will be filled with dahlias very shortly. We're actually going to start planting tomorrow. I have several thousand dahlias that'll go out here, and come September, it's one of the most beautiful things you ever see.
I think you should put your dahlias starting from the top, and we'll rotate them, and they'll avoid early frosts.
All right, is it my turn?
Yep.
Okay. Look at this view. We are on top of the world. And the reason why that's important is because when we have an early frost, it rolls down and we can avoid it. And that makes all the difference in being able to sell flowers. It doesn't look like much right now, but it's all potential. So imagine this as a field of dahlias, a field of gomphrena, a field of coxcomb. All the flowers our farmers market customers want to have. And we sell happiness. Happiness is flowers, and we've done a lot of that over the years. So we thank you for that. I'm Carol Carrier. I'm with Plant Masters. We've been doing this for 45 years. My son has taken over the business after the last 10 years, and Plant Masters is happiness in flowers.